I was talking to you earlier about the style of music that you sing and how it sort of picks you, and you do it in such a brilliantly cool way, and I think that's why you're here. It isn't like you're watching a tribute show, because this music is very old, but of course it's so brilliant and beautifully made. But you've made it 2013, haven't you? That's very important. This stuff isn't tribute, this is your take on it.
It kills me when somebody says it's a tribute show. It literally is like, you might as well call me a magician. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's like, it's not a tribute album, it's a tribute show. I mean, I drove my band crazy in the beginning for weeks and weeks and weeks, because I told them that I wanted to put ska brass with Hotel California. And they're like, what do you mean ska? First of all, I'm like, well, ska is this, and this is what I grew up with as a kid. The Specials and Selector and Madness and all that. It's what I grew up with, so I incorporated that. And then half of the show is original music. But people don't even realise half the show is original music. Like Lovely Las Vegas has truly become has become a strip classic in Vegas, and it's kind of like New York in a way, but for Vegas. And we've done a new version with the full orchestra, and we put a lot more testosterone into the version. But no, the show is not in any way a tribute show or whatever that means. It's definitely original arrangements, and I even, there's a little bit in, I think it's Luck Be a Lady, I even add, I'll add an accent or two, because every time in my mind I'll be doing the show and I'll go, I want an accent here, so then I'll tell the guys to play the accent there. So it's ever changing. There'll be new things about the show tonight that you'll see.
Is there anything more thrilling than having a band behind you? Because I know in this show it's relatively small, and then on this new album it's enormous. You've got 30 on brass, 30 on strings. For any performer like yourself that is a vocalist, I mean, that's what you do. It's not about anything other than the songs, the words, the phrasing, the way you put it across. They're going to make you live or die, and if they enhance you, my God, you've got it made, haven't you?
I think that there's one word, and it's trust. They know, they really do know. And you should ask my sax player tonight. You should actually get a quote from him, and I don't even know what he's going to say. But just ask him if I notice, and if they're, tell him I've asked you to ask if I notice if there's ever a bum note, even slightly sharp or slightly flat, when they hit a note, because it has to be at a certain level. But in return, we have tremendous respect for each other, and sometimes we just play for each other, and that's okay. Because it happens to be entertaining when you see musicians getting off on each other. And trust me and my band on a regular basis get off on each other all the time musically. So I think trust and respect from both sides is the key to a good show. I will say to any performer that's just starting out, if you're uncomfortable on stage, the audience will be immediately uncomfortable. And I'm just not. I actually can't wait, because my pages, I don't get a text, I don't get emails, I don't get bothered. I just sing. So me being on stage is like me being in bed.
We are having lunch. We should tell our audience, whilst we're chatting, we're actually eating, and it's nice to see a star who's prepared to eat. Your regime, because of course we've talked earlier about your fashion sense, we know that's impeccable. This physique, this physicality, of course the girls absolutely adore you. You're eating some sushi. What is this?
This is tuna sashimi on baked rice with, I believe, a sesame ponzu sauce.
It's very LA. I mean, some people will say you wouldn't eat a shepherd's pie as maybe an appetizer.
Well, it's hard enough for me to get into my tuxedo on a regular basis, so every year that goes by, the bread does kind of like sit heavy, and I don't want to be the fat Matt Goss in Vegas. So
now there's a tribute act that could actually work here.
It's the fat years. In fact, maybe these years right now are the fat years, but I promise you I'll be svelte again for the new album.
We were talking about the atmosphere on stage, and the one thing I loved about you, which isn't necessarily the case with every show here in Vegas, is the energy that you looked like you were enjoying yourself. You looked like you wanted to be there. It is tough, this game. I mean, we're talking this afternoon, you've just flown in from LA, you're sat here having to talk to idiots like me, then you've got to get ready for the show, then you've got to do the show, do the same tomorrow, fly home. It's relentless, isn't it?
It is, actually. We fly. I totally agree with that. About idiots like you. Thanks. Obviously. My pleasure. You're actually one of my favourite people to do interviews. You genuinely are. You're absurdly articulate. But I think that I say to like Joe, my assistant, and people that are around me, I said, there's only one way to enjoy this, and that's and embrace the mayhem. Enjoy the mayhem. You're either made for this or not, and I put it down to suspension. You either have the suspension to go over the terrain of the music industry, or you will literally turn right and the chassis will break in half. I've seen it happen. And there's a kind of a sadistic love of the unknown terrain of the music industry, because it is so tumultuous and so treacherous that you only have one choice, and that's to embrace the mayhem. And you can do a right turn. I did a show in Washington. One of the secretaries of Homeland Defense was at the show, and his wife loved the show, and says, and then he offered me a private tour of the White House the next day. So I'm in Washington for one day. It doesn't surprise anybody that knows me. Within one day of being in Washington, I'm in the White House. It's just the way my life is. I'm extremely lucky. I'm extremely blessed by every single little thing I do. Doesn't matter if I've done something way bigger. I'm still in awe of every single day.
But you can't fake that for too long. There's got to be a basis of talent, and there can be an element of luck, but there's got to be some reason why they want you on board, and that is down to your talent and the fact that you're so tenacious you're still here. I mean, that's the point, isn't it? That you wouldn't be invited if you weren't any good.
I think it's taken me a long time to say that as a Brit, you can put me in the ring with anyone, any singer you want. Put me in the ring, and I'm definitely a world class at what I do. Put me in the ring. Give me the chance to put me in the ring.
Do you cringe like me when you watch things like X Factor and Britain's Got Talent live, and you see these performers who are international megastars who clearly can't sing? I mean, that's surprising, isn't it, that you could be number one around the world yet you can't hold a note?
I think it's that Kit Kat commercial. It always comes to mind when you just said that. He said, you can't sing, you look awful. And he breaks the Kit Kat and says, you're going to go a long way. I think so much is marketing these days. I say this with absolute respect. I don't concern myself of any of that anymore. When I came and played the Royal Albert Hall 2 or 3 years in a row now, the manager of the building of the Royal Albert Hall said to me, some days we come to work. She said, some days we come to work. She said, today we didn't come to work. That's the person that manages the Royal Albert Hall to me. That put a lump in my throat. I get to sit in the same dressing room as Sinatra sat in, as Eric Clapton sat in, and people that I love, musicians that have changed my life, and people that I've cried to, laughed to, made love to. But I didn't need to. The thing for me, and the thing I would say for my mum, above all people, my mum, is that I didn't have to ask anyone's permission to play the Royal Albert Hall. And I didn't have a hit record on the radio at the time. I just came in and did what I did. That to me is, my mum has cried because she's like, when are people going to listen? When are they going to listen? And for me to go into the Royal Albert Hall and just sing to her, say, and see her in the box and be like, and sing to her, and see 5,000 people that we advertised. Quite frankly, we didn't even take an ad out. We just put it out on Twitter. There is a sense that, don't get me wrong, mate, with every inch of my soul, I want the British public to hear my new album. Like, listen to this album, because even if you wanted to make this album and you had the budget, I don't think you could make this album in less than 2 years. Write it and make it. I don't think it's possible. So, sorry it's a long-winded answer, but I think for me, not having to ask permission, like my friend Rob today he said, do you fancy doing a week at Ronnie Scott's? I know that I can. I know that I don't have to advertise, and I don't need a promoter. So that's a nice feeling, finally, to be there. But I tell you, I would like to get back to the venues and the level of venues and the amount of venues and the amount of people that I used to touch, I would like to do that again. And all it will take is people just going, I'm going to check this album out.
We're going to come back next with our remaining moments and talk about the new album, exactly what's on it and how it was put together and when it's going to be released, and then when you're going to tour. We'll do it next with our remaining moments with Matt Goss.